The New Orleans Saints are a professional American football team based in New Orleans, Louisiana, United States. They are currently members of the South Division of the National Football Conference of the National Football League. The team was founded by John W. Mecom, Jr. and David Dixon and the city of New Orleans. The Saints began play at Tulane Stadium in 1967. The name Saints is an allusion to November 1 being All Saints' Day in the Catholic faith, New Orleans' large Catholic population, and the spiritual, when the Saints go marching in, which is strongly associated with New Orleans and often sung by fans at games. The team's primary colors are old gold and black. Their logo is a simplified fleur-de-lis. He played their home games in Tulane Stadium through the 1974 NFL season. The following year, they moved to the new Louisiana Superdome. For most of their first 20 years, the Saints were barely competitive, only getting to .500 twice. In 1987, they finished 12-3 and made the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, but lost to the Minnesota Vikings 44-10. The next season of 1988 would end with a 10-6 record, proving that the Saints were a competitive team, and that 1987 was not a fluke. The Saints defeated the St. Louis Rams 31-28 in 2000 to notch their first ever playoff win. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans and, indeed, much of the Gulf Coast region. The Superdome was used as an emergency temporary shelter for displaced residents. The stadium suffered damage from the hurricane, and from lack of available facilities. The Saints were forced to play their first scheduled home game against the New York Giants at Giants Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Other home games were rescheduled at the Alamodome in San Antonio, Texas or Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. During the season, it was rumored that Saints owner Tom Benson might deem the Superdome unusable and seek to legally void his contract and relocate the team to San Antonio, where he has business interests. Ultimately, however, the Superdome was repaired and renovated in time for the 2006 season at an estimated cost of $185 million. The New Orleans Saints' first post-Katrina home game was an emotionally charged Monday Night Football game versus their division rival, the Atlanta Falcons. The Saints, under rookie head coach Sean Payton and new quarterback Drew Brees, defeated the Falcons 23-3, and would go on to notch the second playoff win in franchise history. The 2009 season was a historic one for the Saints. Winning a franchise record 13 games, they qualified for Super Bowl XLIV and defeated the AFC champion Indianapolis Colts 31-17. To date, it is the only Super Bowl championship that they have won, and as it is the only Super Bowl the Saints have appeared in, they join the New York Jets and Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the only three NFL teams to win their lone Super Bowl appearance. The Saints are also the only New Orleans-based professional sports team to win a national championship title. Over the course of 47 seasons, the Saints have compiled an overall record of 324-409-5, with a regular season record of 317-400-5 and a playoff record of 7-9. History. Early history. First, the brainchild of local sports entrepreneur Dave Dixon, who also founded the Louisiana Superdome and the USFL. The Saints were actually secretly born in a backroom deal brought about by Congressman Hale Boggs, Senator Russell Long, and NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle. The NFL needed congressional approval of the proposed AFL-NFL merger. Dixon and a local civic group had been seeking an NFL franchise for over 5 years and had hosted record crowds for NFL exhibition games. To seal the merger, Rozelle arrived in New Orleans within a week, and announced on November 1, 1966 that the NFL officially had awarded the city of New Orleans an NFL franchise. The team was named for the great jazz song most identified with New Orleans When the Saints Go Marching In, and it was no coincidence that the franchise's official birth was announced on November 1, which is the Catholic All Saints' Day. When the deal was reached a week earlier, Dixon strongly suggested to Rozelle that the announcement be delayed until then. Dixon told an interviewer that he even cleared the name with New Orleans Archbishop Philip M. Hanan. He thought it would be a good idea. He had an idea the team was going to need all the help it could get. Boggs' congressional committee in turn quickly approved the NFL merger. John W. Mecom, Jr., a young oilman from Houston, became the team's first majority stockholder. The team's colors, black and gold, symbolize both Mecom's and New Orleans' strong ties to the oil. Trumpeter Al Hirt was part owner of the team, and his rendition of "When the Saints Go Marching In" was made the official fight song. That first season started with a 94-yard opening kickoff return for a touchdown by John Gilliam, but the Saints lost that game 27-13 to the Los Angeles Rams at Tulane Stadium. It was one of the few highlights of a season that ultimately saw the Saints finish 3-11, which set an NFL record for most wins by an expansion team. For most of their first 20 years, the Saints were the definition of NFL futility. They would not finish as high as second in their division until 1979. The 1979 and 1983 teams were the only ones to even finish at .500 until 1987. One of the franchise's early bright moments came on November 8, 1970, when Tom Dempsey kicked an NFL record-breaking 63-yard field goal to defeat the Detroit Lions by a score of 19-17 in the final seconds of the game. The record was not broken until 2013 by Matt Prater of the Denver Broncos. In 1980, the Saints lost their first 14 games, prompting local sportscaster Bernard "Buddy" DiLiberto to advise Saints supporters to wear paper bags over their heads at the team's home games. Many bags rendered the club's name as the Aints rather than the Saints. The Jimmy Mora era, current Saints owner Tom Benson acquired the franchise in 1985, and hired Jim Finks as general manager and Jim Mora as head coach. That combination provided the Saints with their first ever winning record and playoff appearance, going 12-3 in 1987, which had one fewer game than normal due to a players' strike. Another playoff berth would follow in 1991, and the club's first division title came in 1991. During Mora's tenure, the Saints made the playoffs 4 times, with teams marked by strong defenses led by the Dome Patrol linebacking corps, but they were never able to win a playoff game. Mora coached the Saints until the middle of the 1996 season, when he stepped down halfway through a 3-13 season. His 93 wins are still a franchise record, and are 3 more than the Saints won in their entire history prior to his arrival. The Mike Ditka era, after the end of the 1996 season, ironically as DiLiberto had suggested before Mora's resignation, former Chicago Bears coach Mike Ditka was hired to replace Mora. Although this initially generated a lot of excitement among Saints fans, Ditka's tenure ended up being a failure. The Saints went 6-10 in their first 2 seasons under Ditka. During the 1999 NFL Draft, Ditka traded all of his picks for that season, as well as the first-round and third-round picks for the following season, to the Washington Redskins in order to draft University of Texas Heisman Trophy running back Ricky Williams in the first round. Ditka and Williams had a mock wedding picture taken to commemorate the occasion. However, Ditka, most of his coaching staff, and general manager Bill Kyrick were fired at the end of the 1999 season due to the club's 3-13 record. The Jim Haslett era. Jim Haslett held the post from 2000 to 2005. In his first year, he took the team to the 2000 playoffs and defeated the defending Super Bowl champion St. Louis Rams for the team's first ever playoff win. The team lost the following week to the Minnesota Vikings. After winning the 2000 NFL Executive of the Year award, general manager Randy Mueller was fired between the 2001 and 2002 seasons without explanation by Benson. The Saints failed to make the playoffs in 2001 and 2002, although in the latter year they had the distinction of beating the eventual Super Bowl XXXVII champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in both of their regular season meetings, only the second team to do so in NFL history. In 2003, the Saints again missed the playoffs after finishing 8-8. The 2004 season started poorly for the Saints, as they went to €4 through their first 6 games and for €8 through their first 12 games. At that point Haslett's job appeared to be in jeopardy. However, he managed to win the 3 straight games leading up to the season finale, leaving the Saints in playoff contention in the final week of the season. In Week 17, the Saints defeated division rivals Carolina. However, the Saints needed other results to break their way, and when the St. Louis Rams beat the New York Jets, the Saints were eliminated despite having beaten the Rams, who finished with the same record. The Rams, Saints, and Vikings all were 8-8, with the Rams having a 7-5 conference record, Saints 6-6, and the Vikings 5-7. The Rams received the number 1 wild card due to having the best conference record out of the 3, followed by the Vikings due to the 38-31 loss handed to the Saints in Week 6. Haslett was fired after the 2005 season, in which the Saints finished 3-13 and did not play one regular season contest in New Orleans due to Hurricane Katrina. Effect of Hurricane Katrina. Due to the damage Hurricane Katrina caused to the Superdome and the New Orleans area, the Saints scheduled the 2005 home opener against the New York Giants was moved to Giants Stadium. The remainder of their 2005 home games were split between the Alamodome in San Antonio, Texas, and LSU's Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The Sean Payton Era. On January 17, 2006, the Saints hired Sean Payton as their new head coach. 2006 season. On March 23, the Saints announced that the team's 2006 preseason games were to be played at Shreveport, Louisiana, and Jackson, Mississippi. After a $185 million renovation of the historic stadium, on April 6 the Saints released their 2006 schedule, with all home games scheduled to be played at the Superdome. On September 19, Saints owner Tom Benson announced that the team has sold out the Louisiana Superdome for the entire season with season tickets alone, a first in franchise history. The September 25, 2006 home opener, the first home game in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, was won by the Saints 23-3 against the Atlanta Falcons, who were undefeated in the 2006 season at that time. The attendance for the game was a sellout crowd of 70,003. Meanwhile, the broadcast of the game was ESPN's highest ever rated program to date, with an 11.8 rating, and viewership by 10,850,000 homes. It was the most watched program for the night, broadcast or cable, and was the second highest rated cable program of all time at the time. Green Day and U2 performed Wake Me Up When September Ends, and The Saints Are Coming, respectively, before the game. The game received a 2007 ESPY Award for Best Moment in Sports. The game is remembered by Saints fans for Steve Gleason's blocked punt on the opening series that resulted in a touchdown for New Orleans. On December 17, 2006, the Saints clinched their third division title and their first NFC South title in franchise history. For the first time in Saints history, they clinched their NFC South title on their home field. Sean Payton became the second consecutive Saints coach to win a division title in his first season. After the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Dallas Cowboys 23-7 on Christmas Day 2006, the Saints clinched a first-round playoff bye for the first time in franchise history. After the first-round bye, the Saints beat the Philadelphia Eagles 27-24 in the Superdome in the 2006 divisional playoffs. No team had ever had such a poor record in the prior year and then gone on to a league or conference championship game since the 1999 St. Louis Rams, who advanced to win their first Super Bowl after being 4-12 the season before. Since the Saints' only previous playoff win was in the wild card round, this was the farthest the Saints had ever advanced at the time. The victory was only the second playoff win in team history. The season ended on January 21, 2007 when the Saints lost 39-14 to the Chicago Bears in the NFC Championship game. 2007 season. The Saints announced that for the second year in a row, the Louisiana Superdome has sold out every ticket for the season. Additionally, all luxury boxes had been sold out for the season. Both of these statistics are particularly surprising given that the city proper has about 300,000 people or 150,000 fewer people than July 2005 population data. The first game of the season was against the defending Super Bowl XLI champion Indianapolis Colts. The Saints lost this game, 41-10, and lost their next 3 games. In one of these 3 games, against the Tennessee Titans, the Saints lost running back Deuce McAllister for the season with his second career ACL tear. After winning their first game, against the Seattle Seahawks, 2 weeks later, the team went on a 4-game winning streak to bring their record to an even 4-4. After reaching 7-7, the Saints lost their final 2 games to finish 7-0 September 2008 season. Following a disappointing 7-9 record in the 2007 season, the Saints ended the 2008 season 8-8. Failing to qualify for the postseason for the second straight year, the Saints found themselves struggling on defense. The Saints would match the explosive offense they had in the 2006 season, however. Drew Brees ended the 2008 season just 16 yards short of beating Dan Marino's single-season record of 84 total passing yards. Receiver Lance Moore came 72 yards short of his first 1,000-yard season. 2009 season. The 2009 season was the team's most successful season, which culminated in the franchise's first league championship win against the Indianapolis Colts in Super Bowl XLIV. After achieving a record of 13-0 with their win over the Atlanta Falcons, it marked the Saints' best start to a season in its franchise history. The result clinched an NFC playoff berth, a bye in the first round of the playoffs. By winning their first 13 games, the Saints also set the record for the longest undefeated season opening by an NFC team since the AFL-NFL merger, surpassing the previous record held by the 1985 Chicago Bears. However, they would fall victim to the Dallas Cowboys in Week 14, going on to end the season with a 3-game losing streak. Saints became the first team to win a Super Bowl after losing its last 3 regular season games. Although its opponents would include winners of 9 of the last 15 NFL MVP awards, the team advanced to the 2009 NFC Championship game where they defeated the Minnesota Vikings, led by Brett Favre, 31-28 in overtime, earning their first Super Bowl appearance in franchise history. Television ratings for Super Bowl XLIV were the highest for any TV program, sports or otherwise, in history, as their successful bid to win the Super Bowl was seen by many to represent the city's resurgence after the devastating Hurricane Katrina, 2010 season. The Saints' 2010 season began in the Superdome as the Super Bowl champion New Orleans Saints defeated the Minnesota Vikings 14-9, in a rematch of the 2009 NFC Championship game. It was played on Thursday, September 9, 2010 and televised on NBC, making it the first time the Saints have opened the NFL season at home. On Sunday, August 8, 2010, NBC announced the televised opening festivities of the evening would begin with Taylor Swift and Dave Matthews Band. On December 27, 2010 with a 17-14 win against the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta, the Saints clinched a playoff appearance. This marked the first time a team in the NFC South had made back-to-back playoff appearances since the division was formed in 2002. The Saints would face the Seattle Seahawks for the wild card opener at Kestfield. The Seahawks were the first NFL team to capture their division with a sub-500 regular season record. Drew Brees completed a postseason record 39 passes for 404 yards and 2 touchdowns. Despite throwing 60 passes and hindered by a lack of depth at running back, last year's Super Bowl MVP was not intercepted and rallied the Saints within 34-30 in the fourth quarter. In the end, his efforts were negated by a defense that could not get enough stops and a late TD run by Marshawn Lynch breaking over a half-dozen tackles with 3:22 left, which allowed Seattle to finish off the Saints. Final score 41-36. 2011 season. The Saints began their season with a loss against the Green Bay Packers, but the team rebounded for the next 4 weeks to bring their record to 4-1. A loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers brought the record to 4-2, but the team bounced back with a 62-7 blowout win against the struggling Indianapolis Colts. A surprise loss to the St. Louis Rams resulted in the record dropping to 5-3. In the next 7 weeks the Saints beat talented teams such as the eventual Super Bowl XLVI champion New York Giants, Detroit Lions, and Atlanta Falcons, bringing their season record to 12-3. To cap off the season, quarterback Drew Brees broke the single-season passing record held for over 25 years, on the way to a Saints division-winning game. The Saints won the NFC South title on December 26 and ended the 2011 season as the third seed in the NFC. They finished with a 13-3 record, beating Carolina 45-17 and also giving running back Darren Sproles the record for most all-purpose yards in a single season. The team broke numerous records that year including most yards in a season, completion percentage, yards passing, completions and more. The New Orleans Saints beat the Detroit Lions in the 2011 NFC Wild Card playoff game 45-28. New Orleans also tied the NFL's postseason mark for team first downs in a game, and broke the record for total yards with 626, eclipsing the yardage record set 49 years ago. The Saints lost Saturday, January 14, 2012 in the divisional round in the playoffs against the San Francisco 49ers in Candlestick Park. A game that was considered an instant classic by many as the game saw numerous lead changes in the final 4 minutes of play. 2012 season. After an off-season dominated by news of the so-called bounty scandal and the year-long suspension of head coach Sean Payton, the Saints sought to refocus on football and produce yet another winning year. Instead, the team, led by offensive line coach Aaron Cromer for its first 6 games, started the season with 4 straight losses and a last-place spot in the NFC South. The team finally broke through with a win in Week 5, against the San Diego Chargers, a game that also saw quarterback Drew Brees break Johnny Unitas's long-standing record for consecutive games with a touchdown pass. After their scheduled bye, the Saints went on to win 4 of their next 5 games, to bring their record to an even 5-5. Joe Vitt returned after his 6-game suspension to serve as interim head coach for the rest of the season. The team failed to hold its momentum, however, and lost the next 3 games, including a loss at Atlanta that also marked the end of Brees' record touchdown streak after 54 games, and a 52-27 blowout loss to the Giants that dropped the Saints to 5-8. Despite winning 2 of their last 3 games, and Brees again leading the league with 5,177 passing yards, the team finished tied for last in the NFC South, at 7-9. The Saints' defense allowed 7,042 yards, setting an NFL record. 2013 season. The Saints finished their 2013 preseason 3-1, and won their first 5 regular season games against the Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Arizona Cardinals, Miami Dolphins and Chicago Bears. The Saints under Sean Payton had been winless in Chicago's Soldier Field and had not won in the Windy City since 2000. The Saints fared well against Chicago, Arizona and Miami, winning 26-18, 31-7 and 38-17 respectively, but needed a 4th-down shutdown and a last-minute field goal to escape Atlanta and Tampa Bay. The Saints went on a 5-0 win streak, but were stopped short by the New England Patriots in Week 6, losing 30-27, with a touchdown pass by Tom Brady in the last 5 seconds of the game. New Orleans would go undefeated at home for the 2nd straight season with Sean Payton as the head coach, but finished just 3-5 on the road. Key losses included a 34-7 blowout against the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football in Seattle which cost them home field advantage throughout the playoffs and a heartbreaking 17-13 defeat to their division rival the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte who went on to win the NFC South. The Saints finished the season with an 11-5 record and earned a wild card berth as the 6th seed in the NFC. On January 4, 2014, the Saints recorded their first road playoff win in franchise history over the Philadelphia Eagles 26-24. On January 11, the Saints lost to the number 1 seed Seattle Seahawks once again in Seattle 23-15. The weather conditions were very poor, which gave the offense much difficulty. Despite the conditions, the defense of the Saints played well. 2014 season. Controversies, 2009 Euro 2011 bounty scandal. After a lengthy investigation conducted by the National Football League's Security Department, the league alleged on March 2, 2012 that 22 to 27 defensive players on the New Orleans Saints maintained a pay-for-performance program that included bounty payments administered by then defensive coordinator Greg Williams during the 2009, 2010 and 2011 seasons. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell stated, "The payments here are particularly troubling because they involved not just payments for performance, but also for injuring opposing players." The report also found that head coach Sean Payton was aware of the allegations but failed to stop the program. The league also said that Mickey Loomis, the Saints general manager, was directed to end the program by owner Tom Benson, but didn't. The memo released to NFL teams found Payton and Loomis guilty of conduct detrimental to the league. On March 3, 2012, Benson addressed the bounty payments controversy on the Saints website, stating, "I have been made aware of the NFL's findings relative to the bounty rule, and how it relates to our club. I have offered and the NFL has received our full cooperation in their investigation. While the findings may be troubling, we look forward to putting this behind us and winning more championships in the future for our fans." On March 21, 2012, Commissioner Goodell announced that, as a result of the bounty scandal and the NFL's investigation, Sean Payton has been suspended for 1 year, Greg Williams indefinitely, and Mickey Loomis for the first 8 regular season games. The team was also fined $500,000 and docked second-round draft picks in 2012 and 2013. Saints assistant coach Joe Vitt also was suspended 6 games and fined $100,000. Payton's suspension started on April 1, 2012, and all the suspensions are without pay. Goodell will meet with Williams again after the 2012 season to determine the coach's status. On May 2, 2012 it was announced that 4 players who played for the team between 2009 and 2011 would receive suspensions for their alleged participation in Bountygate. Saints linebacker Jonathan Vilma, Saints defensive lineman Will Smith, former Saints retired linebacker Scott Fujita, and former Saints current Packers defensive lineman Anthony Hargrove. Most of the players who were the targets of questionable hits by the Saints, including Favre and Warner, claimed the bounties were merely part of the game. However, several former players interviewed by Sports Illustrated said that while payments for good hits and sacks were indeed considered part of the game, bounties for intentionally injuring opponents violated an unwritten code. However, on July 26, 2012, Jonathan Vilma and 7 witnesses from the Saints testified in front of a federal judge in New Orleans that NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell got his facts wrong in the bounty scandal. "Everybody was sworn in under oath in front of a judge with the risk of perjury and jail time if we were lying, and categorically denied there was a bounty," Vilma said in a text message to ESPN's Ed Werder. 7 people testified, 2 sworn affidavits all saying the same thing. "I ask that you and ESPN report the facts. No more bias or BS or hearsay. I gave you facts that you can report if so choose." Tulane University Sports Law Program Director Gabby Feldman said, "Clearly the judge, by her questions, indicated she thinks Goodell overstepped his authority, and this case was always going to be about if he executed his power fairly." The NFL's retort is that with all due deference, you don't get to second guess. Judges only have limited jurisdiction over arbitration issues. Saints All-Pro quarterback Drew Brees made a controversial tweet on June 20, 2012 stating, "If NFL fans were told there were weapons of mass destruction enough times, they'd believe it. But what happens when you don't find any?" Brees immediately issued another statement to clarify, "My WMD comment has nothing to do with politics or our brave military. Merely an analogy to show how media influences public perception." He went on to say, I apologize if the WMD comment offended anyone. Especially our military. There is no one I respect more than our servicemen and women. Logos and uniforms. Black, along with old gold and white, has always been one of the team colors, but it wasn't the first choice of original majority owner John W. Mecom, Jr. His preference was for Mecom blue, a medium shade which was used by all of his other investments. The NFL office, however, informed him that his proposed combination too closely resembled that worn by the San Diego Chargers. Although the Chargers were members of the AFL, the older league didn't want to offend its soon-to-be partners so soon after the merger. Mecom settled on black as the primary color as a nod to his financial involvement in the petroleum industry. Black gold is a term synonymous with oil. Although the Pittsburgh Steelers, who played a few home games in New Orleans during their early years to avoid conflict with the Pittsburgh Panthers football team, have long used black and gold as their colors, their shade of gold more closely resembles yellow, making the Saints black and gold compatible with the rest of the NFL. Except for minor modifications, the Saints logo and uniforms have basically remained the same since the club debuted in 1967. The team's logo is a fleur-de-lis, while its uniform design consists of gold helmets, gold pants, and either black or white jerseys. Minor changes to the uniform stripes and trim have been made throughout the years. The team wore black helmets during the 1969 preseason, but NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle barred the Saints from using the helmets during the regular season, since Mecom did not notify the league office of the change. The Saints predominantly wore white at home when the club played at Tulane Stadium from 1967 through 1974, forcing opponents to suffer in their darker jerseys in the subtropical climate of New Orleans. When the surface at Tulane Stadium switched from natural grass to polyturf in 1971, field temperatures became hotter still. In Archie Manning's first game, in the 1971 season opener against the Los Angeles Rams, temperatures on the field reached as high as 130 degrees Fahrenheit. The heavily favored Rams wilted in the stifling heat, and the Saints claimed their first ever victory over their NFC West rivals, 24-20, on Manning's one-yard quarterback sneak on the last play of the game. The Saints switched to white pants in 1975, coinciding with the team's move from Tulane Stadium to the Superdome, and have worn white at home numerous times since then. 1 year later, they started to wear black pants with their white jerseys, a move influenced by coach Hank Stram, who introduced red pants to the Kansas City Chiefs uniforms in 1968. In an October 3, 1976 home game against the Houston Oilers, Hank Stram used the Saints' road uniforms, the white jerseys and black pants. The Saints lost that game 31-26. During the 1981-82 seasons, the team wore white jerseys with black pants at home, but reverted to the black jerseys and white pants for 1983. They reverted to wearing gold pants with both their black and white jerseys in 1986 under new coach Jimmy Mora. From 1986 through 1995, the sleeves of the jerseys and sides of the pants featured a logo with a fleur-de-lis inside an outline of the state of Louisiana. The logo replaced the striping pattern that had been on the uniforms since the team's inception. Save for color variations, the striping pattern was similar to that used by the Washington Redskins, Green Bay Packers, and Cleveland Browns, which is likely why the change was made. That logo was removed in 1996 and replaced with a fleur-de-lis on both the sleeves and sides of the pants. From 1996 through 1998, the Saints returned to gold numbers on both the white and black jerseys, but complaints about the numbers on the white jerseys being too difficult to read forced the numbers on the white jerseys to be changed to black in 1999. The Saints wore black pants with a wide gold stripe with their white jerseys in 1999, but following a 3-13 season and the dismissal of coach Mike Ditka, the black pants were mothballed by new coach Jim Haslett, 2000s. In 2000, the Saints won their first playoff game as they hosted the St. Louis Rams, and after having a better road record than home record, they wore their white jerseys, and won 31-28 over the defending champion Rams. The defining play of the game came with the Saints clinging to a 3-point lead with minutes to play. the Saints punted to the Rams' Zaire Hakim, who fumbled the punt deep in Rams territory. Brian Milne recovered for the Saints, who then ran out the clock to preserve the victory. In 2001, they wore their white jerseys in the first 6 home games. During that same year, they primarily wore black pants with both their white and black jerseys. They became the first NFL team to wear all black uniforms in a Week 5 road game against the Carolina Panthers, and again in Week 16 and 17 in home games against the Washington Redskins and San Francisco 49ers. The Saints were outscored 78-10 in the final 2 contests to end a 7-9 campaign. In 2002, the Saints wore black pants with their white jerseys, and gold pants with their black jerseys, a gold alternate jersey, and a 1967-style throwback uniform, complete with an accurate 1967-era helmet which featured a larger fleur-de-lis, a darker shade of gold and grey face masks. But 1 season later, they stopped using the alternates and again reverted to wearing gold pants with both their black and white jerseys. The team introduced a gold alternate jersey during a December 15, 2002 game versus the Minnesota Vikings, a 32-31 loss, but have never worn them since then. Because of the metallic gold's bright color, the gold jerseys were considered the light jersey in the game, so the Vikings wore their purple home jerseys as the dark-colored team. One team must wear dark, and one team must wear light. This was done because of black and white TV broadcasts so viewers could tell the teams apart. The only exception being if both teams are wearing throwback uniforms, such as Thanksgiving Classic games. From 2003 through 2007, the New England Patriots had a light jersey that isn't white in which the other team would wear their colored, or dark jerseys against them since the third jersey rule was implemented in the NFL in 2002. The Saints also introduced a 1967-style throwback uniform in a 23-20 win on December 1, 2002 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This uniform wasn't worn again until a 40-33 win against the Houston Texans on September 25, 2011 and also on November 6, 2011 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a 27-16 Saints win. However, the 2011 throwbacks use the current helmet, meaning the shades of gold on the helmet and jersey do not match. In 2006, to honor their return to Louisiana, the Saints wore a patch on their uniforms with an outline of the state of Louisiana with a fleur-de-lis superimposed, similar to the logo from the 1980s. The Saints originally planned to wear white jerseys at home for the 2006 season, but during the season, the players voted to wear the black jerseys at home after the second game. Since the team had informed the NFL office that they planned to wear white jerseys at home, each of the Saints' remaining home opponents would have to agree to New Orleans' request. The Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Cincinnati Bengals did not agree to the switch, forcing the Saints to wear white jerseys for those games. Starting in Week 13 of the 2006 season, the Saints wore black pants with the black jerseys against the San Francisco 49ers, and in a Week 16 game in the Meadowlands against the New York Giants, the Saints wore the black pants with their road white jerseys. The Saints later stuck with the black pants in their 2006 playoff run. Since 2008, the Saints have worn white jerseys at home for preseason games and early regular season home games. In 2009, the Saints wore the black pants only once, beating St. Louis 28-23. They wore the white jerseys gold pants combination during the Super Bowl XLIV victory over the Indianapolis Colts. In 2012 the Saints wore black pants 12 times and wore gold pants 4 times. In 2013 gold pants were used only 7 times. Stadium. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome is the home stadium of the New Orleans Saints. The dome has a listed football seating capacity of 76,468 or 73,208. Rivals, divisional rivals, Atlanta Falcons. The Saints' oldest, most storied, and by far, most hated rival is the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons own the rivalry Series 48-43. The two clubs joined the NFL within a year of each other as expansion teams and have played each other twice a season since the Saints joined the league in 1967. During the early decades of both teams' existence, when both had mediocre squads at best, fans of the visiting team were well known to travel by the busloads to the other team's stadium to cheer them on. This helped create a level of hostility in the stands, which sometimes exceeded the level of play on the field. As both teams have improved in recent years, the rivalry intensified. For instance, in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, many New Orleans residents moved to the Atlanta area, while taking their Saints allegiances with them. With this rare dichotomy of having fans of opposing teams reside in the same city year-round, this has developed into one of the most hated rivalries in the sport. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Being the only two Gulf Coast teams, they have developing rivalry with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have been part of the NFC South with the Saints since 2002. The teams actually played each other quite often as non-division rivals. Between 1977 and 2001, there were only 5 years in which the teams did not play. This includes 12 years in a row from 1981 to 92 all as a result of the scheduling formulas in place prior to 2002. The Saints won 13 of 20 games as non-division opponents. Since becoming division rivals, the Saints have the edge in the series, winning 14 games to the Bucs' 10. One notable pre-division game is a 1977 matchup that resulted in Tampa Bay's first win in franchise history, coming against New Orleans after previously starting out 0-26 overall. Carolina Panthers. The Saints and the Carolina Panthers have been minor rivals since Carolina joined the league as an expansion franchise in 1995. The teams have been divisional rivals since then, originally in the NFC West and then in the NFC South since 2002. This series has been extremely close. As of the end of the 2012 regular season, Carolina leads 19-17. Carolina defeated New Orleans on the road every year from 2002 to 2008, a streak of 7 seasons. Notable games include Carolina's 19-7 home victory in 1996 that sparked Saints head coach Jim Mora's infamous diddly-poo rant and resignation from the team, Carolina's 10-6 win in the 2002 season finale at the Superdome to knock the Saints out of the playoffs, and the emotional 2005 season opener at Carolina where the Saints won 23-20 in the face of Hurricane Katrina and an eventual 3-13 season. After the bounty scandal broke, it was revealed that the Saints had deliberately targeted Panthers rookie quarterback Cam Newton. Other rivals, Dallas Cowboys. The New Orleans Saints rivalry with NFC counterparts Dallas Cowboys is more of a regional rivalry rather than a divisional one, as the two franchises have never competed in the same division. Their fan bases overlap in parts of northern Louisiana, such as the Shreveport-Bossier City metropolitan area which borders the state of Texas. The teams have played each other 27 times, with New Orleans owning the recent series, winning 8 out of the last 10 games. The Saints have won 4 of the last 5 meetings in Dallas, with a 2-1 record at Cowboys Stadium. The all-time series record stands at 12-16, in favor of Dallas. The two teams most recently met on September 28, 2014, where the Cowboys won in Arlington with a score of 38-17. In the team's most recent meeting at the Superdome, the Saints set a National Football League record of 40 first downs and a franchise record of 625 yards of total offense, with Texas native Drew Brees throwing 4 touchdown passes without any interceptions for the 15th time in his career. Additionally, the Saints' defensive coordinator was Rob Ryan, who had been let go by the Cowboys earlier that year, and Ryan's replacement Monty Kiffin was demoted from the position at the end of the 2013 season. Minnesota Vikings. A most common postseason rival for the Saints are the Minnesota Vikings. The Saints and the Vikings have played each other 3 times in the postseason, with the most recent being the 2009 NFC Championship game. Although the Vikings have dominated the overall series, the Saints have won the last 3, including the 2009 NFC Championship game. More recently, the Saints won 20-9 in their home opener of the 2014 season as the Vikings had to make do without the suspended Adrian Peterson and Matt Castle leaving the game due to an injury. Philadelphia Eagles. Another common postseason rival for the Saints are the Philadelphia Eagles. The Saints and Eagles have played each other 3 times in the postseason, with the most recent being a 2013 NFC Wild Card game that was won by the Saints 26-24. This game marked the first playoff victory on the road in Saints franchise history. The Eagles have dominated the Saints in the overall series. However, the Saints hold a 2-1 postseason edge over the Eagles. San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers were division rivals with the Saints up until realignment in 2002 when the Saints moved to the NFC South. The 49ers dominated the rivalry when the Saints played in the NFC West, but the Saints have held the upper hand since realignment, winning the first 6 games since moving to the NFC South. The teams met in the divisional round of the 2011 playoffs, with the 49ers winning 36-32 in an exciting game that saw 4 lead changes in the last 4 minutes of the game. The Saints trail the all-time series 24-46-2, which includes 0-1 in the postseason. The two teams most recently met on November 2013 in Week 11, where the Saints beat the 49ers 23-20 in the New Orleans Superdome. Statistics, season-by-season records. Record versus opponents, as of the 2013 NFL season. Includes postseason records. Note: W equals wins, L equals losses, T equals ties. The Saints were designated the home team for this game. Single game records: passing yards, 510 Drew Brees, passing yards per attempt, 16.1 Drew Brees, passing touchdowns, 6 Drew Brees and Billy Kilmer, passer rating, 158.3 Drew Brees Euro NFL record, consecutive pass completions, 19 Drew Brees, rushing yards, 206 George Rogers, rushing touchdowns, 3 Reggie Bush, receiving catches, 14 Tony Galbraith, receiving catches, postseason game, 15 Darren Sproles, receiving yards, 205 Wes Chandler, receiving touchdowns, 4 Joe Horn, punt return yards, 176 Reggie Bush, pass interceptions, game, 3 Sammy Knight, longest interception return for touchdown, 99 yards Darren Sharper Euro NFL record, longest field goal, 63 yards Tom Dempsey, field goals, game, 6 Tom Dempsey, total touchdowns, game, 4 Joe Horn and Reggie Bush, points scored, 24 Joe Horn and Reggie Bush, points scored, team, 62, margin of victory, 62-7, most first downs, 40 NFL record, single season records, passing attempts, 670 Drew Brees, passing completions, 468 Drew Brees Euro NFL record, passing completion percentage, 71.2 Drew Brees Euro NFL record. Passing yards, 5,476 Drew Brees, passing touchdowns, 46 Drew Brees, passing interceptions, 22 Aaron Brooks, Drew Brees, passing rating, 110.6 Drew Brees, rushing attempts, 378 George Rogers, rushing yards, 1,674 George Rogers, rushing touchdowns, 13 George Rogers, Dalton Hilliard, and Deuce McAllister, receiving receptions, 99 Jimmy Graham, receiving yards, 1,399 Joe Horn, receiving touchdowns, 16 Jimmy Graham, quarterback sacks, 17 Pat Swilling and Leroy Glover, pass interceptions, 10 Dave Witzel, pass interception return yards. 376 Darren Sharper Euro NFL record, pass interceptions returned for touchdowns, 3 Darren Sharper, field goals attempts, 41 Tom Dempsey, field goals made, 31 Morton Anderson and John Carney, points, 147 John Casay, total touchdowns, 18 Dalton Hilliard, punt return yards, 625 Michael Lewis, all-purpose yards, 2,696 Darren Sproles Euro NFL record, yards from scrimmage, 2157 Deuce McAllister, points scored, 547, career records, passing attempts, 4,990 Drew Brees, passing completions, 3,356 Drew Brees, passing yards, 38,733 Drew Brees, passing touchdowns, 283 Drew Brees, passing rating, 99.0 Drew Brees, passing interceptions, 156 Archie Manning, rushing attempts, 1,429 Deuce McAllister, rushing yards, 6,096 Deuce McAllister, rushing touchdowns, 49 Deuce McAllister, receiving catches, 607 Marks Colston, receiving yards, 8,337 Marks Colston, receiving touchdowns, 63 Marks Colston, quarterback sacks, 123 Ricky Jackson, pass interceptions. 37 Dave Waymer, field goal attempts, 389 Morton Anderson, field goals made, 302 Morton Anderson, extra points made, 412 Morton Anderson, points, 1,318 Morton Anderson, total touchdowns, 63 Marks Colston, pass interception return yards, 621 Tom Myers, pass interception return for touchdowns, 4 Sammy Knight, punt return yards, 1,482 Michael Lewis, kickoff return yards, 5,903 Michael Lewis, longest punt, 81 Tom McNeil, games, 196 Morton Anderson, notable players. Pro Football Hall of Famers, Doug Atkins Delaware, 1967 Euro 1969, Earl Campbell RB 1984 Euro 1985, Jim Finks GM 1986 Euro 1993, Hank Stram Coach 1976 Euro 1977, Jim Taylor FB 1967, Mike Ditka Coach 1997 Euro 1999, Tom Fears Coach 1967 Euro 1970, Ricky Jackson LB 1981 Euro 1993, Willie Rofe OT 1993 Euro 2001, until the selection of Ricky Jackson in 2010, there had been no players in the Hall of Fame who earned their credentials primarily as Saints. The others were chosen for their work with previous teams. However, Jim Finks's tenure as Saints general manager was a significant factor in his selection. When offensive tackle Willie Rofe was selected in 2012, he became the second Saint to earn his Hall of Fame credentials mostly while in New Orleans. Rofe was a member of the NFL's All-Decade Team of the 90s. Pro Bowl players, the following Saints players have been named to the Pro Bowl: QB Drew Brees, Archie Manning, FB Tony Baker, RB Deuce McAllister, Dalton Hilliard, Reuben Mays, George Rogers, Chuck Muncie, Andy Livingston, Lieutenant Jamal Brown, William Rofe, German Bushrod, L.G. Brad Edelman, Jacob, Carl Nix, Ben Grubbs, Celia Charles Bentley, Joel Hilgenberg, Jonathan Goodwin, R.G. Shari Evans, Michael Owen, R.T. John Stinchcombe, T. Hobie Brenner, Henry Childs, Jimmy Graham, W. Joe Horn, Eric Martin, Wes Chandler, D. Ewell Smith, Joe Johnson, Wayne Martin, Rinaldo Turnbull, Bruce Clark, Cameron Jordan, D.T. Leroy Glover, L.B. Jonathan Vilma, Mark Fields, Keith Mitchell, Sam Mills, Vaughn Johnson, Pat Swilling, Ricky Jackson, Rinaldo Turnbull, C.B. Tyrone Hughes, Benny Thompson, Dave Waymer, Dave Witzel, S.S. Roman Harper, Sammy Knight, Tom Myers, F.S. Darren Sharper, K. Morton Anderson, Tom Dempsey, P. Mitch Berger, Brian Hansen, Thomas Morstead, Super Bowl MVPs, Super Bowl XLIV a Euro Drew Brees, retired numbers, 8 Archie Manning a Euro QB, 71 a Euro 75, 77 a Euro 82, 26 Deuce McAllister a Euro RB, 31 Jim Taylor a Euro FB, 81 Doug Atkins a Euro DE, Ring of Honor, on October 9, 2013, the Saints announced the creation of a Ring of Honor to commemorate former players, administrators and individuals with significant contributions to the franchise. Their names are displayed along the Mercedes-Benz Superdome's terrace-level fascia. The first 3 honorees were Archie Manning, Ricky Jackson and Willie Rofe and were officially inducted during halftime of the Saints game against the Dallas Cowboys on November 10, 2013. New Orleans Hall of Fame, 1988, QB Archie Manning, W. Danny Abramowicz, 1989, S. Tommy Myers, K. Tom Dempsey, 1990, QB Billy Kilmer, 1991, NT Deland Moore, RB Tony Galbraith, 1992, RB George Rogers, G. Jacob, C. John Hill, 1993, LB Joe Federspiel, 1994, GM Jim Finks, T. E. Henry Childs, 1995, D. E. Bob Pollard, D. E. Doug Atkins, 1996, C. B. Dave Witzel, D. B. Dave Waymer, 1997, L. B. Ricky Jackson, T. Stan Brock, 1998, R. B. Dalton Hilliard, L. B. Sam Mills. 1999, Q. B. Bobby Hebert, W. R. Eric Martin, 2000, L. B. Vaughn Johnson, L. B. Pat Swilling, 2001, T. E. Hobie Brenner, D. E. Jim Wilkes, 2002, Coach Jim Mora, D. E. Frank Warren, 2003, D. E. Wayne Martin, G. T. Jim Dombrowski, 2004, R. B. Ruben Mays, Assistant Coach Steve Sidgwell, 2005 a Euro 2006, C. Joel Hilgenberg, 2007, D. E. Joe Johnson, 2008, O. T. Willie Rofe, 2009, K. Morton Anderson, 2010, W. A. Joe Horn, 2011, D. B. Sammy Knight, 2012, R. B. Deuce McAllister, Team. Owner Tom Benson, 2013, D. T. Leroy Glover, 2014, QB Aaron Brooks, K. John Carney. 45th Anniversary Team. To commemorate the club's upcoming 45th anniversary, the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame has selected its all-45th anniversary team. The Hall of Fame updates its all-time team every 5 years, and this latest squad of head coach and players features 4 standouts from the club's current roster: a Euro QB Drew Brees, G. Shari Evans and D. E. Will Smith, as well as head coach Sean Payton. The players are chosen in a vote by the Hall of Fame Media Selection Committee, which includes local and regional media members who cover the Saints now or did so in the past. The all-45th anniversary team is as follows, with an asterisk designating those players who have already been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Joe Gemely Fleur-de-lis Award, awarded yearly to a person who has contributed to the betterment of the New Orleans Saints organization. Current staff and roster, head coaches. Cheerleaders. The Saints are the cheerleading squad for the Saints. A cheerleading squad has existed since the franchise's founding, but the current name was only adopted in 1987. Radio and television. The Saints' flagship station is WWL, one of the oldest radio stations in the city of New Orleans and one of the nation's most powerful as a clear channel station with 50,000 watts of power. Jim Henderson and Hokie Gajan form the broadcast team. Most preseason games are televised on Cox Sports Television and WVUE, a station which has been owned by a consortium led by Saints owner Tom Benson since mid-2008, and, as the Fox affiliate for New Orleans, carries the majority of Saints games. Both stations also carry a heavy complement of coach and player shows. Tim Brando and John Stinchcombe call the preseason action. Radio affiliates. Saints radio affiliates. See also, occurrence of religious symbolism in U.S. sports team names and mascots, references. External links, official website.